Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of That Great Podcast. Today we have Luz Martinez with Luz Martinez Counseling. Today we're going to try and go over some topics that I think will be of great value to everyone. So Luz, thank you so much for joining. How are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. I cannot wait to talk about mental health.
Yes.
I am always here to talk about mental health.
I love it. So why don't we jump in first, give us a little background about, how you came into the field and what your experience has been like, how long you've been doing it, all that good stuff.
Yeah. So I've been in the field almost 20 years, which that I can't believe. But, and how I got into it, I was actually pursuing a different major in school. And I took a psychology course, Psychology 101 in undergrad. And the thing that stayed with me that I knew there's something here was when I learned that everything you think isn't always correct. Your mind lies to you. I didn't know that. I always went on the assumption, well, if I think it, it must be right. So everything must be right in my head here of whatever
Positive
I'm
and negative.
Positive and negative.
Yeah.
And we have a negative bias, which we will talk about later.
Yes.
And with that realization, I realized, wow, it can really hurt you or help you. And I just continued on. And I kind of feel like I was meant for this career. And I love the type of work that I do with my clients every day.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wow. So 20 years, that would make you a literal master in the field. I think the whole 10,000 hours has been met.
Yeah, exactly.
So any kind of standout insights over over that career that you've attained thus far about just human nature in general? Anything? Are we all just a little damaged?
I mean, damaged is not the word.
Okay.
However, I will say, like, no one comes unscathed from life.
Yeah, true.
Right? Like all of us.
Right.
And I think we forget, because what happens to us feels so personal that we forget that there's suffering around us all of the time, small or big.
Yeah.
And I think because we forget that it feels very lonely to us. And one of the things that I do with all of my clients, they always ask me, it never fails. The thing they ask me is, does anyone else feel this way? I'm like, yes, absolutely. The person that came in right before you, the person that I will see right after you, like, it is the human condition. But so often we just think that it's our own
Just
personal condition. And that, and kind of like knowing that we're not in this alone, I think can be really healing as well.
Yeah, I think that was a really interesting way that you put that. So, and I think it segues pretty well. So is it just me kind of going through this, right? So
absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about, I wanted to ask you about COVID, and we're 5 years removed, which is crazy. Time flies.
Yeah.
But I still think it's playing out.
Absolutely.
And it will play out. So tell me a little bit about kind of what you saw. Let's take it like pre-COVID, just before leading up, and then that post-lockdown and to where we are now. How have things kind of manifested on your side and with your clients?
Yeah.
How has that impacted us?
One of the things, I never stopped, right? So like when COVID hit, I was fortunate enough. I was already seeing clients like in office, but I was starting to do telecounseling.
Yeah. From before.
Okay. Right. So I was already starting to do a little bit of it. I had some clients, but it was very different because I never started new clients on telecounseling. It was only a transition if they were moving farther away in Florida, like those types of things. And then COVID hit. So I was fortunate that I already had the resources set up so I could easily transition.
Awesome.
I already had the platform, but it was right. Like it was the way you said it. There's still things that are manifesting since. And I think it speaks to just the human condition overall. And I'm going to nerd out a little bit here.
Please. Okay. Yeah.
One of the things that I saw with clients is, number one, myself, I needed to make sure we didn't know what was happening, right? It was a really scary time. And I think that we forget how scary a time it was. And yes, it's past, right? It's behind us, or so we think, like, okay, that was just a segment in like my life and I'm going to continue moving forward. But it's had impacts on us.
Yeah.
It really has, right? And it continues to. It reverberates throughout our lives. I'm a trauma-informed specialist, right? This is a type of work that I do with my clients. So this is how I see that trauma always manifests, is the event happened, but it's had huge implications in the rest of our lives.
Some subtle, some more pronounced.
Yes. And this is what I see with COVID and with the pandemic. So we have what's kind of considered a window of tolerance, right? So I'm going to kind of like show you, like, all of us, when we're in our window of tolerance, This is where we're
Comfortable.
emotionally and cognitively at our best.
Okay.
We have highs and lows in it, but this is where our prefrontal cortex, this is where our executive functioning brain, this part of our brain, this is where we're thinking, we're regulated. This is our sweet spot for the type of work that we do every day. What happens is, and what happened with COVID, is that when people were at their like highs, it just took that one extra thing to like push us out of our window of tolerance.
Yeah.
So that's what I was seeing. I was seeing clients who were doing really well and who were getting at a good place, and all of a sudden they started having difficulties that they hadn't anticipated or that they had kind of like gotten past. And it's because they had gone outside of their window of tolerance, like all of us.
Yeah.
It was a traumatic experience, big T or little t.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So big T, if you had a lot, if you lost a loved one, if you lost your job, if you lost your marriage, right? Because everyone came in, right? So it could have been a big
I'm
T.
sure. I remember reading kind of at the onset, it kind of fell away, but there was a rise in alcoholism. I think they were selling alcohol at reduced rate. I think that was
Yes. All
So
of us started
everyone
drinking
everyone
more.
coped and did stuff to get through it in their own way, for sure.
So either big T or little t. But what I started to notice is that then what we don't know that's happening, right? It was a traumatic experience. And just because it was normal, because we were all going through it, right? So we generalize it of like, well, it's not a big deal. No, that's not how traumatic experiences work. It's a big deal. We're just all going through it.
Right.
But it's still, our nervous system is such an old system, right? Our body, it's caveman nervous system.
Right. Reptile brain,
the amygdala, right? It doesn't know the difference. So
sorry to interrupt, but is it a thing of so we're gonna nerd out. I think this is gonna be awesome. So when it comes to the trauma, is it a thing of it's just change, the impetus? That first thing is just like there's this change, and then we individually are identifying and trying to manage it, and traumas manifest from there. But is it really just like that COVID was such a we shifted everything completely changed. So like before you could even see any effects, you had out the gate turned it on its head, the whole world. So was that in itself just enough to be a traumatic event?
Yes.
Okay, got it.
And you bring up, so I like where you're going with this, because I always want to explain this to people, because I know the word trauma gets thrown around a lot.
Yeah.
There can be a traumatic event, which does not necessarily mean it's going to be traumatic for you.
Okay.
A lot of us will experience traumatic events, and it doesn't mean that it becomes post-traumatic stress disorder.
Sure.
Most of us will have a traumatic event happen, and we will process it. We will reconcile it. We will deal with it in healthy ways. And 80% of us, I think that's the number that I saw the last time, will kind of, make do with it, and we continue on, and it doesn't have lingering, life-altering impacts. Right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that it wasn't felt by our nervous system. It doesn't mean that it didn't have an impact on us. And what I was noticing with clients bringing it back to COVID is that the little things would push them right outside. And what happens is that then when we're outside of our window of tolerance, we're now in fight or flight.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's reptilian brain. Or we're in freeze. So that means that we're either just making rash, impulsive decisions, or we're indecisive, right? So we can then be navigating from these areas. So now our decision making might not, right? So then that has huge implications on our lives and our decisions, because now we've made these decisions from an impulsive, I'm going to die type of situation, where that might not be the reality.
Yeah. Or even on the other side with the freeze, like just not taking any action, which could stifle you during that transition,
And they're not inherently wrong. Like, we have these systems for a reason.
Sure.
Let's use them, right?
Okay.
We want to use them when we're having them.
Okay.
The difference is that, the way that we experience stress now in our body, it's coming from an email. right? It's coming from a news, article.
Yeah.
It's coming from a conversation that we might not want to be in fight or flight or freeze, right? And that's the difference.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about kind of the socialization aspect of COVID, and that'll kind of lead us into the next topic. So like with the whole switch to remote and everything shut down, I mean, at its peak, right, depending on which state you lived in, but it was even in Florida, which is a little more open, that those first couple weeks it was right. So how, I mean, I guess the effects would be obvious, but how did you see that play out with your consulting or your counseling? Were people demonstrating and expressing a lot more of that feeling of just isolation?
It was the isolation.
Yeah.
And I think that was the hardest part that we all
It was weird.
It was the isolation. It was weird.
Yeah. What if you lived alone?
Sometimes I was the only contact for them, right? Because we moved, everyone was working, remotely.
Yeah.
And a lot of a lot of the businesses weren't set up to do remote work, right? So you didn't already have systems in place.
Yeah.
So sometimes, I went back, we live in Florida, right? So I went back into the office, and because of the type of work that I do, I was able to go back into the office. I know not all businesses, opened up that way. But a lot of people, we took precautions, right? It was weird to wear a mask for a long time. And I did everything. I wore the mask. I wore like the plastic shield. I did it all. I did it all.
It was novel. It was new. We didn't know.
Right?
Yeah.
But a lot of people wanted to see me in person, even though it still felt really risky because they just needed that social connection.
Yeah.
Right? They needed to kind of see the person and feel my nervous system to their nervous system.
Right.
My nervous system communicates to theirs and vice versa.
Yeah.
And they were needing that type of connection.
Yeah. No, and I have to speak to that. I kind of during that period, I lived still with my mom at the time, but even then we had a pretty big house, like people coming in and out and stuff, a pretty open family and stuff like that. So even the transition wasn't so kind of a homebody to begin with. So it wasn't so bad there. But I have to say, coming out of it and just circumstances and all of that, kind of really led me into like this year, like getting more involved, these sorts of things and just socializing more because it was one of those things like you mentioned, like, so talking about like minor trauma that you don't really doesn't affect you, but you process, right? I think it was one of those where it's like maybe in that sense I stubbed my toe and it was like just a thing like ow for a second and then you get over it, but in reality maybe I'd like fractured a toe. So like you want to kind of I course corrected, because I was feeling not in 2020, not in 2021, but like 22, 23, 24, I was like, man, I even like I have like a smaller group of friends than I looking back, and so I think that's really important. Like, so moving into socialization and all that, how do you think, coming out of COVID, now we have just, everything went online, had been transitioning to online with social media and all that. So it's not like out of nowhere, but it was accelerated during COVID. And now here we are in 2025. How do you see social media from when you saw it first sparking up? How has it changed kind of how we interact and how people are engaging with it and feeling with it?
So I think that we're the most connected now and also lacking the most connection, right? It's different. There was a report that just came out. I think I was watching the BBC and they were talking about how, and I don't know if you've noticed, but now that I'm paying attention to it, I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. They were saying how with, why don't you see your friends posting their food and where they're at the way that they used to? Right. And
it's evolved.
Yeah. And one of the things that it was saying is that now when you look at it, and now when I look at my feed, I'm like, it's none of my friends.
Right.
It's these para-social relationships.
Yes.
It's influencers. It's people selling you things. I'm on Instagram, so I'm there talking about things, right? But it's not in the personal ways that we used to connect with it. Definitely. Now it's like advertising, right? It's trying to get likes and views and leads, right? For business. It's a business platform, right? Like it has definitely shifted.
Transition. Yeah. That's a really good point.
And and I hadn't realized it, but we've been using the same tool, but now the way that we use it is very different.
It's commercialized. Transactional.
It's very transactional, which is great when you're looking for things,
right?
But it's not. But relationships are not transactional,
right? They shouldn't be. You shouldn't go into relationships to be transactional. That's a PSA.
That is a great PSA.
Yeah.
Right. So now they become, right. So like the way that we're using and what we think is connection. So we haven't caught up to it. So we're going in there, but it's not feeding us anymore in the way that it used to, right? We're not feeling the connection. And I think one of the things, so while we have more access to it and we have the potential for not being as lonely, if we know how to use it is the key.
Okay.
And a lot of times we don't know how to use it.
Right.
Right? Because this is all brand new. We have not learned this. We're learning this now.
Yeah.
But one of the ways that I notice it, especially like with my clients, I have a lot of clients that are experiencing like ebbs and flows in their friendship groups, and they don't know how to find friends. Right? Like they're new people. It happens.
Yeah, it's very common.
Friendships, we ebb and flow.
Yeah.
They are not static, right? There would be times where you'll be closer. There were times where you'll be farther apart. Yeah. That's healthy. That is, it's not a sign of like, oh, I got to get rid of this person.
Sure.
But because of social media and being able to like block, dislike, mute, all of those things, we are treating our friendships in the same way. And I find that then is also contributing to us feeling lonelier in our experiences.
The relationships are a little less real. Kind of. Yeah. So I've kind of run into that on the social media side. Like, I think it's part of getting older too. I'm 28, right? So I'm just coming on. Like, I think they're doing. I don't know when it is, but they're doing the 10-year reunion. So I've done like 10-year high school reunion that went like that, as they said it would. But I'm just reflecting, like not in a negative manner of reflection, just reflecting because you hit that milestone. You're like, how have things changed? The friends, is it a natural thing? And maybe I'm putting myself out there, but is it a natural thing that your friend group kind of dwindles a little bit? Maybe you have a larger sphere of influence and network. Just know more people the more you age. Yeah. But does the friend group tend to get smaller? Is that like a natural evolution? Because I see like there, and when I say friend group, because I'll give you an example. There's one that I had very close friends in high school, saw each other every day, went to each other's, right? So like buddies, best friends. And now like if we ran into each other, it would be hugs, and it would be
of course
as if nothing ever happened, and nothing like nothing changed. But we don't keep in contact. So it's like a thing of, it's like, and then I realized like, damn, why don't you just reach out to them? Like, why don't you just say, hey, what's going on? You know? So I feel like, and again, social media makes that easier. It's not like I have to write a letter and send it via carrier pigeon, like the 1400s, but it's very easy to just like send a message.
But it makes it easier, but it also makes it more difficult.
Okay. Because
social media makes it easier, we forget that friendships and relationships, they require work.
Yeah.
Like it requires actual work. It requires inconvenience. It does. To get off of my couch to go like meet a friend, it's going to require an inconvenience. I like my home and I like being with my two like dogs, like it requires work and inconvenience. And because social media, so if you probably would have been in contact with your friend if you would have had to write a long letter, right? Because you're accustomed to having to put in the work to maintain these relationships. To send a quick little DM to someone or to like their post, it's very quick, but there's no work. So there's no skin in the game.
Yeah, and you're kind of scratching the itch, but like it's not an interaction. It's not. You didn't build a relationship from there, really. Yeah, and most of my friends don't care about likes anyway. So even if they were, inclined, it's not doing anything. Because
you're not feeling like, oh my gosh, I feel so much closer to them, and I feel like this is someone that I can like talk to. And so so that's what I mean. Yeah. With social media, we just need to know how to use it. Right. And yes, that's definitely, that kind of keeps it like, oh my gosh, this person I have not spoken to in a while. Right. Oh wait, let me then send them a longer text, not a, hey, hope all is well.
Yeah, right.
Okay, that's really nice that you're thinking about them, but that's not, you're putting the work on that person. That's not opening the door to like, hey, these are the updates of my life. This is what I was thinking about. This is what I'm doing. But, like,
and I do actually have a friend, so another friend that he's younger than me actually, and we were in the high school band together. And shout out Pablo. We might have, Pablo, man, I love you, Pablo Debura. That is one friend, and that music is the connector there, because we were in a band together in high school, and we may do some stuff in the future. Fingers crossed. And that's the connector, because like I'll be listening to a song, or really it's a band, Kings of Leon. Have you heard of them?
Yeah.
And there's certain songs that I'll hear and I'll be like, oh my God, that's Pablo. And like, that's like the vibe that we had. And like, so I'll send him that and I'll say, thank you, man. And I'm always down to record. He's up in, I think he's in Tennessee now working. Yeah. He's an engineer. But yeah, I think like certain people, that's one perfect example of what I could probably do for more friends, you know, and there's, cause they drop into my head and, you know, you'll think like, oh my God, I haven't spoken to him in years now, you know, and so that's really important. So about using social media correctly. You have a lot of success on social media. You get, at least, I don't know, maybe it's my algorithm, but I'm getting bombarded with, you know, people killing it, right? So
yes, everyone is killing it.
Yeah, everybody's killing it. And they have great lives.
Everyone but you is
and
killing
they're super happy and they
Yes.
have no issues and they're the best.
Exactly.
Super cool people. But so
Super
you see
cool.
that, so you see that, and I've learned to detach, right? But for people that maybe struggle with that, what are some habits, tips, like how can people engage with social media correctly and healthily? What are some tips?
You know, you're so right, because everyone, so here's the biggest key. You are comparing your internal struggle and processes to someone's external, right? You're comparing your step 1 to someone's probable step 10.
Damn.
You just need to know that.
Yeah.
You need to know that. So when the feelings come up, and hey, like feelings come up, like there are times if I see someone that's like doing what I do, but they're just doing it better, it brings, I feel some type of way about it. And I have to recognize that, because then it's showing me there's nothing good or bad. It's not inherently good nor bad. It's giving me some unpleasant information that I need to like sit with. And I'm like, okay, why is this like bringing up these things for me? Oh, because they're showing me what I'm
so bad at that. You're saying that, I'm like, I don't ever do that. I mean, that's a skill.
But here's the thing, no one does. Right? Like unless it's a skill.
Yeah,
it's
you have to build it. You have
to develop.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, like, and this is why, plug for therapy, always plug for therapy. But this is why, because there's no other outlet that will give you like the 1 hour.
To just acknowledge it, sit with it, work through it, you know?
Because I won't do it myself.
Yeah.
Like it gets to a certain point and it's painful. Like I'm going to keep it real. Like it's painful. It's painful to like see yourself in all like your areas, right? So you need someone who will help you do that and break through that. Right. And that can be a therapist. Yay, therapy.
Yeah.
But it can be, it can be someone that will hold you accountable in a tough but tender way. And that's the difference, right? It's tough and tender.
So follow-up question on that, and I don't want to divert too much, but is just like every industry, I'm sure not all therapists are created equal, right?
Yes.
So what are some things that if someone wanted to explore that as an option, what should they be looking for? Does it depend on them? Do some people respond differently? It's really one of those.
Some people respond differently. But the one thing that I will say to like any like client, because I've gotten clients that I haven't been a good fit for.
Sure.
And that haven't been a good fit for me.
Right.
And I've gotten clients that are like, oh, I didn't like my previous therapist. And one of the things that I always tell them, I'm like, well, did you bring it up to your therapist? And it isn't to put the onus on the person. But this is the other part of therapy that I don't think we talk enough about. This is where you practice the skills. So if there's something that you're not liking, you need to bring it up in therapy. I
see what you're saying, right?
Because this is the person that, for the most part, should be able to like
work through that with you as well,
right? Like because it's going to be hard and uncomfortable. Yeah. So I can't tell you, so the way that we do one thing is the way that we do everything in our lives. Yeah. So if you can't bring it up to your therapist, I bet you can't bring it up to your partner.
Right.
I bet you can't bring it up to your mom. I bet you can't bring it up to your best friend, to your boss. The list goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
So therapy is the place that you will practice those skills first. So when I'm teaching boundaries and when I'm talking to clients about saying no to things that don't work for them and how to like, navigate that, sometimes I will text a client to ask them if I can move their appointment because I'm trying to like accommodate something else, right? I don't get upset if they tell me no. I respect their no.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for saying no because it didn't work for you.
Right.
because you are practicing the skill that we have been working on
Yeah.
here. And I need to be the example of someone being able to take the no.
Right. Right. So those are things you kind of want to make sure. So yeah, I mean, I guess it does depend on how someone responds, but it's a give and take. I think that is a relationship that, like you're saying, is pretty unique because
It is.
it's professional, but it's very personal.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
man, I don't want to divert too much, but follow-up question,
Yes.
is that also a challenge for people you run into, like breaking down those walls and really opening up? You find more people tend to be a little more closed, or once they get to you, they're kind of like breaking down. Yeah.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
Once they get to me, because they've tried it all.
Right.
I'm not the first on your list.
Sure.
To do.
Yeah.
I am the last.
Right.
I am like the last resort.
Yeah.
And I get it. We were talking about this before we started recording, right? How like no one's looking for
yeah, but yeah, right. No one cares about insurance.
No one cares about insurance.
Yeah.
No one's looking for an adjuster.
Yeah.
No one's looking for a therapist
Right.
until like you're
They
at
need
the
it.
very end,
Right.
right? So I get it that by the time that you've called me, you've tried it all.
Yeah.
And you've done it all like in the ways that you could, and you've recognized that like then you don't have the skills. This is skills based. It's learning new skills. We only know what we know.
Yeah.
I know what I know, not because I'm a great human being. I mean, I like to tell my husband that, like I'm so evolved, but it's because I've studied it, I've learned it, I talked to hundreds of people, I've seen, I've been doing this for a really long time. Yeah. That doesn't, I've been fortunate that I've learned so much from my clients. It's not that they just learned from me.
I'm sure.
I learned from them.
Yeah.
So there are times where I'm like, I got this from a previous client. This is what this client is doing, like blah, 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 right? Like,
is there overlaps? Like I've always read about them. They have different labels, but there's personality types. There's people kind of fall into categories with minor variations, right?
Minor variations.
So do you, and again, not that anything's cookie cutter, but is it kind of, once you dial in on how they are, you can treat a little better? Yeah. I took a little bit of, I'm nowhere near like your level, but I took a couple psychology classes, sociology classes in school. It's a very interesting topic, and the way people interact and all those things, it's always been very interesting. So not to divert too much, but going back to it. So with your how long have you had the your firm? When you started, did you open it out the gate, or
no? Okay. I didn't. Oh, and this actually ties it really well to like entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Right. Because so I've had my private practice for the past 8 years, and I was doing that in addition to working a full-time job for like a few years, right? And then once I got up and running, left my full-time job and just focused solely on this. But I remember, and this is what we need to be aware of, right? This is how like our experiences shape us. There was a narrative that I had in my head of like, oh, I need to earn this. I don't even know what that means. Yeah. To be quite honest.
You had that going in when you went into the transition, or?
Nope. When I knew from the very beginning, being in graduate school, I knew I had professors who had their own private practices, and I knew from the very beginning, I want to have a private practice. Like that's what I want to do.
Okay.
But in my head, there was like this little narrative of like, yeah, but like
you need to earn the right to have your own.
The right to have it.
Okay.
I had no criteria for it. I didn't even know what that meant.
Yeah.
It was just like, no, you got to do something. Like you're not good enough right now. Okay. Right. These are narratives.
No.
Right. And I didn't examine those narratives. So I had a lot of other experience. The other thing too, like when you initially graduate with your graduate degree in this field, you have to get 2,000 hours of supervision.
Right.
Right. So for 2 years, you're a registered intern. You're not fully licensed.
It's like an apprenticeship, basically. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it took a while. But then I went into like different fields. So I worked with like adolescents, worked with kids, worked on the health insurance side, right? There's like a huge roster of like employment that you can have. But I remember like I was stuck because I had this narrative of, well, you're not ready yet. I don't know what that means, right? But it stopped me. It stalled me from being able to like do what I needed to do. And finally I started like working through that and realized like I was just holding myself back. That was fear, that was insecurity, that was anxiety, that was imposter syndrome. And They're not inherently wrong. I wasn't aware of them. I wasn't digging deeper into them, and they were stalling me. I was in freeze stage.
Right.
I was in indecision stage.
Yeah. I've spoken to a good amount of, because the public adjusting community is relatively small compared to others, especially, in one state, Florida. So you get a good feel. I'm in a group with a couple of other public adjusters, kind of talk shop, talk challenges and all that.
Yeah.
And all those things you described in our field is, I thought, going back to the very beginning, I thought it was just me, because it's like, is it supposed to be this hard? Or like, is it like, what the hell? Like, this is really hard. And this wasn't my first business venture.
Yeah.
And this one was just like,
Yeah.
it seemed for various avenues, just like setback after set, and it was this thing. And once I got into that group, they're like, no, I went through something similar, or no, yeah, I have, like, I'm going through that right now. Like, it's a lot more common. So with entrepreneurship, and you have your own firm, like, how do you self-diagnose in that sense when you start kind of feeling anything or start feeling these things? You kind of draw back, and how do you deal with it, like, as an entrepreneur and also a therapist?
Because I have those things, right? Like, they come up, and because there's a difference in, kind of going back to your story, when you have your own self-doubts about it, and it's like, oh my gosh, is it supposed to be this hard? And when someone tells you, like, yes, this is normal, it's supposed to be this hard, the narrative can change for you. Right? It's no longer failure.
Kind of becomes like hope. It's like, oh, okay. Like,
absolutely. Nothing changed. This is the part that
I love. How your brain just sees it.
This is the part that I love about therapy, where clients will tell me, like, oh my God, I feel so much better. I feel more authentic, feel more connected, X, Y, and Z, all the things. And I can see it, and my nervous system can feel it. I'm like, yeah, I feel the change. And I always point it out to them. But nothing has changed in your life. You didn't win $1 million. You didn't change your job. Your partner's the same, right? Like, nothing has changed in your life. It wasn't the, when this happens, I will feel happy. It's, oh, I'm figuring out how to be happy as this is happening.
Learn. That's something I just recently learning. But
learning.
Because that's the thing of, I've struggled with it as an entrepreneur, and I think all of us can probably go through this, where it's like you have a goal, and it's maybe a big crazy goal, or it can be just a relatively small goal, but whatever it is, like, you kind of get dialed in looking to the horizon, and not for me, what happens to me is I kind of get locked in on the goal and lose the minutia of, like, okay, well, how do you that's a good goal, but, like, you now need to, what are the actionable steps? And even taking those actionable steps sometimes is a struggle. Like, I know what I need to do, but I am failing to do that particular thing. And then I look couple weeks or whatever down the line, I'm like, I haven't made progress, I'm beating myself up, but I'm the cause. So I think that, like, makes, like, every entrepreneur tick is that. So how do you balance, and I guess, like, how I've conceptualized it, how do you balance ambition with patience and satisfaction with where you're at? Is there a balance to be stricken there?
There is. And I would even add, there's also going to be dissatisfaction.
Sure.
Right. And that's normal. That's healthy.
Dissatisfaction in what sense?
In that we're going to be dissatisfied at times with the rate that we're going in.
Okay.
That's okay. I don't have to beat myself up about it. I don't have to make excuses for it. I can accept the fact that I'm not, going as fast as I want to be. I can hold myself accountable for it, but I can also be tough and tender with it. Right. So often I think that we only get stuck on trying to, like, hold on to the positive and pleasant emotions of things, but it's okay to not be always excited about it. It's okay to struggle with it. It's okay for it to not always feel good. It's okay to, like, sometimes, like, oh my gosh, I kind of disappointed myself here because I really wanted to do this and I didn't. Okay. How am I going to sit with that? And I sit with myself with that, in not beating myself up, because the minute I start beating myself up, I feel shame and guilt.
Are those okay? So, and for me, I'll open up. Mine is more of like it can become like a downward spiral. So, like, for me, and I think you just hit it. The feeling of shame, regret, all those things, is that, for as I understood you said it, is that once you start feeling those triggers or those emotions, is that your kind of mental trigger of, like, oh, I'm beating myself up? That's
you got it. that is the indication for me of like, hold on, let me take a step back, because
I shouldn't be feeling like that.
Like, I can feel that, and I can be kind to myself as I'm feeling that, right? Because we never want to feel shame and guilt, right? But what happens is we try to prolong not feeling that. We try to avoid it, that we will then excuse it, get defensive, not deal with it. Right? So we won't actually ever then, and this is why it's not helpful for us, especially as entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
You might have made a mistake. You need to be able to see what that mistake is. You need to be able to see like, hey, where did I go wrong? I had like this plan, something. But when there's shame and guilt, like here,
it's really hard.
It's really hard. So I can't sit to even evaluate to see like, well, what happened? Right? Because so then I'm running away from it.
Right.
So what I always try to incorporate for myself, and of course, I teach it to myself. So I always teach it to my clients, is we want to bring in self-compassion. We want to bring in, tenderness when we're experiencing this. Not because it's like, oh, don't feel that, and like, oh, it's okay, you did what you did and you don't have to like make amends for it. Yeah. No, it's so I can hold myself accountable and say like, okay, this is where I went wrong.
Yeah.
I can now look at it. I can dig into it. I can actually be curious about like, well, why did I do this and not that, without like having to defend my shame and guilt.
Yeah.
Right? Like it actually allows me to be a much better business person.
Right. It does because again, for me, it's like the complete opposite. I sometimes will feel like my own worst enemy, like in my own head, like where it's like,
absolutely.
And it's a funny excerpt from The Office, famous show. The two characters are talking. Jim, played by John Krasinski, is like kind of being down on himself, and he's like just like talking bad like about himself and feeling shame, whatever it is. And I'm forgetting his name, but Ed Helms, he's like, hey, don't talk to my friend Jim like that, like almost like saying it like to him. And I always think of that, like that's like so true, because like I don't know, I think for me it has a lot to do with past experiences, like and perceived setbacks and things like that, which have ultimately led me here. So I've come to terms with it. I don't think I fully processed it, so definitely we'll talk. but I feel like that the ambitious side of things, like it can create those feelings of, I don't know, like just, I try and keep in mind that I'm still pretty young too, and so I'm venting, but I'm trying to help everyone else out here that also watches. So this is not going to become a session, but I'm trying to make it conceptual in the sense of like, I think it's common. I think for entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, or people that have been doing it, about to exit their company, I think you will run into those same recurring themes. Always. Just at different levels. I don't think they ever go away.
They never go away. The anxiety of it is never going to go away.
Yeah, it almost scales up. It's from what I've heard. Other public adjusters that I've spoken with that are doing better, it's like you don't necessarily want what you're seeing, or maybe you do, but like think like it's not that it got easier. Bigger problems, more problems,
and and not even like with that.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Like in your own like professional and personal growth.
Yeah.
To take the leap to like that next version of you, that's someone new.
Yeah.
You don't know that person. So you're having to leave like the very like comfiness of like yourself to like be that new version of you.
And then you circle back to that threshold, right? In a more deeper sense that you have to face yourself to get better. And
now so you're constantly like, as entrepreneurship, that's what I have found. Like you're constantly then having to like, do scary things, do like anxiety provoking things, right? So it's like, how can you take the leap if you know that if you fail at the leap, according to you, right? If you fell at it, you're going to beat yourself up. You
don't trust yourself.
Who would take the leap?
Yeah.
And trusting yourself, and this is how I teach it to my clients, it's not about having all the right answers. It's not about guaranteeing. It's to know, if it goes haywire, I got me. I will take care of me. I'm going to be honest with me, what worked and what didn't work. And I can trust me to take care of me.
I love that. So I guess trying to close this out, how would you advise, because you mentioned it, part of the journey, not just in entrepreneurship, but we'll stay on that, but part of it is running into those failures, setbacks, dissatisfaction. Other than just pushing through it and just getting it done, what are some things that people can take from this and say, okay, well, if I run into this, I can, you know, approach it this way and move forward in a healthier, more productive manner.
Yeah. It's normal and natural to want to avoid feeling unpleasant emotions. The minute they come up, they're giving you great information. So lean into them. Be curious, non-judgmental, be kind. We can't do this without being kind and compassionate with ourselves.
Yeah.
It's too hard. It's too hard to sit with it if you're just going to beat yourself up for it. So I would say the minute that it starts to like bring up some of these uncomfortable feelings, lean into them. Kind, tough, and tender. The other part that I would say is sometimes we need to slow it down, because here's what happens, right? When we start to like panic a little bit, we're going into fight or flight. That is like movement, but like it's an email. It's a deadline.
Yeah.
Right? Like
it's not that big of a deal. It's a big deal, but it's not
like it's not life or death.
Yeah.
Our bodies, our nervous system doesn't know the difference between life or death. So we are reacting as if everything is life or death.
Yeah.
So slow it down. When your body wants to like move fast, when you want, and you know that energy, you start to feel it. Yeah. I always know from me, like, okay, I need to slow it down.
And what does that look like, slowing it down?
So slowing it down would be like stepping away. Sometimes I like to do this a lot is I will take, so I'm going to give you guys my tools here for me. This is what I do for me.
Okay.
I will talk to myself out loud because I need to hear what I'm telling myself. In here, in our heads, it all feels normal. It feels correct. And what we don't realize is that we go around in a loop. So we're constantly looping. Yeah. So what I always like to do is when I'm like in this like little like moment of like panic mode, I take a step back. So I will actually like stand up physically, and I will physically take a step back because I need to kind of like reset of like, okay, hold on. And the thing I always say is the narrative I am telling myself right now is, and I start to like unpack it. So this one, my clients know this one because I've shared this one with them. When I was looking to make the leap. Oh, okay. Do we have time? Can I share like a quick
please,
story?
Please.
Okay. So when I was looking to make the leap from like part-time, like entrepreneurship to full-time, I had a waiting list. I had a plan. I had been working. This was not an impulsive decision. I was working on this plan for a year.
Yeah.
Okay. So I had it thought out. I had already made the adjustments. I had a waiting list. So I knew immediately I can open up my schedule. I'll have clients. I will be making money.
Yeah.
And I remember like 2 months before, I started to feel like this anxiety. And I was like, this is interesting. What is this? I'm like, huh. I wonder where this is coming from. Yeah. Right. And then it kept on like getting worse, and like the physical symptoms were like getting worse. And I was like, what is like, why? And I would even ask myself, I had the nerve to ask myself, why am I feeling anxious when I'm going to do this?
Yeah. Answers in the question.
Yeah. It's like, I wonder why.
Yeah.
And then I realized, so I had to like take a step back. So I always say like, this was my ego, or like thinking like, how did I think I was not going to feel anxious making a big decision? But what I did, I took the step back and I said to myself, okay, the narrative I'm telling myself is this is not going to work. But you continue it. You got to go all the way. So it sounded like this is not going to work. I'm not going to be successful. I'm going to try to make this business work, and it's not going to net me enough money. And then I'm going to end up like being poor. And then I'm not going to have a job. And then it's only going to be my husband supporting us and my dog. And then we're going to end up losing the house.
Do you read minds, by the way? Because you're like saying my internal dialogue all the time.
I'm going to lose the house. And then we're going to be homeless.
Yeah.
And then what's going to happen is at the time I had a Camaro, and then we're going to be living in my Camaro, and no one fits in the back seat. So it's going to be me, my husband, and my dog in the back seat, homeless.
Yeah. To the nth degree.
To the nth degree.
But they call that like catastrophizing, right? I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Yes,
but that's like a means of almost you're taking it to that nth degree where it would probably stop at that first step that the business just failed and you get a job. Like you move on.
And that's what I needed to see.
Yeah.
Because I needed to see like all of the different places that I could. I'm like, well, okay, but I can do something here.
Yeah.
And I can do something here. And but we don't. So like in our heads, it just goes around in circles and we don't actually hear it out loud. right? So like once I heard it, and then if you have someone trusted, like a therapist, but also like I said it to my husband, I'm like, okay, this is what I was telling myself, and he just looked at me and he's like, do you really think that's gonna happen?
Yeah.
In like this loving, compassionate, but
Yeah.
also like,
Incredulous. Like, come
yes,
on.
like,
Yeah.
do you
It's not
think
that bad.
we're gonna be there? And I was like, you're right. And I journaled about it like later, and that anxiety, it's not that like it went poof and like never again,
Yeah.
right? Because every next step, every time you level up, you're gonna have to like do the thing,
Yeah.
right? Everything's gonna require a new version of you that you might not be fully there yet.
Yeah.
So it's always gonna be like, okay.
Yeah. And when it comes to that, I think like you were saying that, and for me, I had a similar experience with this past year. So like when I first got started in the industry, basically, you know, went as about as horribly as it could go, in that I basically
Yeah.
put in about a year's work and never got paid for any of it, and started from zero, like in debt. Like it was worst possible bottom in terms of starting a business. That's where I started.
Yeah.
And you know, coming out of this past year, was doing a ton of work on it's still a similar basis of like, you're not paid right there. You do have to wait for the money. And like halfway through going, it was always about Christmas time, and I've ever since that incident, that was in like 2022, that was definitely capital T trauma for sure. Like, and I'm processing it to this day. But it's almost around that time where like last year I was getting these feelings of like pangs, and like the relationship, the working relationship, was nothing like the first one. The person I was dealing with was upstanding guy, is an upstanding guy. Shout out Daniel Lackey. Very, you know, but I couldn't kick it. And like unashamedly, but shamedly, like I didn't kick it until the money landed this time, and I was like, okay. You know, and it was I knew, as I was processing it, it wasn't so much where I was like, why am I feeling this way? I know why. I knew like out the gate, but I couldn't kick it. It was like this feeling of like, it's gonna happen again. It's a repeat. You're gonna, and now you're screwed because you don't have 2 rounds of that, you know. So it was that. But and it literally, not only did it not happen like that at all, but it was like, you know, you almost wasted all that energy, you know. Like, so I think what you're saying is very helpful. With, if I had maybe just said it out loud, you know, it would have been like, probably not. You know, you're not, it's not going to be that bad, or, you know. So Luz, I think this was fantastic. I really enjoyed this. I wanted to open the floor to you to let the audience know how they can get in touch with you, and any last words, parting words that you wanted to share.
Yes. Okay. So
I think it's this camera.
Yes, absolutely. So, you know, please stay in contact. I'm on social media. So Instagram, Luz Martinez Counseling, my website, luzmartinezcounseling.com. I do 15-minute consultations for any potential new client to make sure that we're a good fit. But parting words, therapy is not just for the negative things that have happened to us, right? I work with clients dealing with depression, anxiety, and trauma, yes. But also, therapy is for our professional growth, our personal growth, to have better relationships. It's skill building. We don't know what we don't know, and sometimes we need the help of a professional, and there is no shame in that.
I love it. Luz, thank you again so much. Till next time, guys. Thank you for watching.